It's open for three. Dagger!
Oh my God.
Hello, welcome back to Well Beyond the Arc, where we talk all things basketball all the time. Joined as always by my co-host David. Before we get into any comments or any topics, David, how you doing today, bro?
I'm very good. I'm very good, bro. I'm good. It's good to be back. Good to be back. Let's go.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you?
NBA basketball. I'm good too. This is another week of NBA basketball and my last week in Hawaii. So I am moving
Mm,
next week. So this is the last episode with this beautiful background you guys get to look at behind me. But no, we're gonna get right into with a good, bad, and ugly. But before we do that, I mean, we got to roll a comment and go Pacers. Even though they, if I remember correctly, lost their last game, but
choked the 20-point lead. Choked the 20-point lead.
they sure did. After if anyone remembers the choke in game one, now it's getting thrown right back in their face. So not good timing. That is why game one, it's kind of crazy to throw that up in game one. But we're gonna get into good, bad, and ugly right now because there's a lot to talk about. Starting with good, my good for this show has to be these NBA playoffs as a whole. I have been extremely impressed with how entertaining they've been. I think the last few seasons, I would say the last two postseasons, I really haven't been very into them. And honestly, have the Lakers done great? Not great. Now, I will say I do believe it was the season that they played the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals that the Nuggets did win it all, and they did have a pretty good postseason push. But minus that, the postseason has not felt as exciting. But this season is the exception. We've seen a lot of 7-game series. We've seen a lot of punch for punch series. Have we seen some 5-game series? Have we seen some game series that have been not very close? Of course, that's just the playoffs. But for me, it's been more entertaining, and that's good for NBA fans and just the NBA as a whole because they've been struggling with that postseason viewership the last few seasons. So I've really been impressed with the playoffs, of course, minus the Lakers. That would be the one area where I actually was the opposite of impressed, but I can look at it not just as a Lakers fan and appreciate the good basketball. So that's my good for this week. What about you, bro? What are you rocking with?
No, I don't know. I have to say the fact that we can and see. I don't know if this is a good, but I'm going to say because we're kind of running out of goods, really. Um, One just came to my mind right now. Pacers losing. That's a good one. That's a good one. No, it's not my good yet until the Knicks get the business done. That's not my good
Yeah.
yet. But thank you all for remembering that I rock with my Knicks all the way. So no, my good has to be OKC and precisely the MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I told you I've been calling it since what, December? Oh no, we didn't start in December. I can't remember when we started. But I've been calling it since we started this season.
Yeah. Since the
Rightly
beginning,
so.
first
Rightly so. Exactly. And I guess there are a lot of things that I want also to say. All NBA team came out recently. Joker wasn't robbed. Let's stop with that
not a
nonsense.
robbery,
Let's
definitely.
stop with that nonsense now. All NBA team. This is the first time I think I'm looking at an NBA team and I'm like, okay, this is actually legit. Like everyone where they are supposed to be. Like you can make a case for some people, obviously, but I think everyone that made an All NBA team
Yeah,
is rightfully deserved it. I think that's also a good. So I'm going to go with two.
that's a
Obviously,
I really like those are both really good goods, but that second one is a really good point because I also agree. There have been seasons, especially recently, where it's been kind of you've looked at the NBA first and second, and it's been like, but this season it does feel right. So yeah,
yeah.
I do feel like that is something that has to be called out because that is really good because there have been some head scratching picks throughout
Mhm.
history, but especially recently. So that is definitely good. Moving on to bad. My bad has to be what we just talked about with choked leads, but it's not just the Pacers blowing a lead. Obviously, the Knicks blew. We've seen a lot of blown leads in the postseason.
There have been 6 20-point blown leads this season. 6 20-point comebacks. So it's obviously six 20-point leads, blown comebacks, whatever you want to call it.
It's crazy. And it's like on one hand, if you're a fan of the team that's making the comeback, you love it. But I have never been on either side. So as an NBA fan, it's just been I don't know. It's just, and it's not good for teams. But now, moving on to now, not looking at the whole season, looking at now, it's such a bad time to blow a lead. Like for the Pacers, that is a terrible point in the series
To
to
blow it.
lead.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's my bad, because there are teams that are blowing leads in pivotal moments. And we've seen so many postseason leads blown throughout the rounds. It's just, it's been, and again, and the Pacers have pulled off a lot of comebacks and have been down pretty exponentially, and they've made pretty big pushes, not even just in the postseason, just throughout. And we've seen other teams do that too. But that's got to be my bad. And maybe that's not a controversial bad, but maybe that could also be a good, that there's been a lot of like exciting game flips. But for me, that's got to be my bad. What about you, bro?
I was going to say the fact that what this guys were blown out. OKC were blown out to game 3. This is game 4, yeah. Okay, so we're blown out to game 3 by what, 4-3. But I'm going to go in different route, and I saw something today about Anthony Edwards. I love Anthony Edwards. I think he's amazing. I think he's a phenomenal superstar. But for some reason, this kind of brought to my attention really. Last season, he took out what's the word? He took out it seems to be like he puts all his energy in taking out the old heads. Now, when he then gets to the next round, it's kind of like, okay, what's next? So there's kind of like an inconsistency in his game. And you can see in this OKC series, this past 2 rounds, he focused on taking out LeBron, check, took out Curry, check. Okay, now we get to where there's not really a superstar. Like the next superstar, I guess, and I don't throw that word loosely, is SGA. Well, he's on your same level. He's not an old head, you know? So and then you come to a roadblock and you're like, and then he's been so inconsistent, other than game 3, where, you know, he came on and put it on. Every other game, he's kind of not been able to deliver. Game 4 being very bad. So I think for me, my bias like that in the inconsistency in his play over the last 2 postseasons. Like so far, they have both gone to the West Ham. He's still an amazing player, phenomenal. Always watching him except when it's not Lakers, but always love watching him. So I think that's my bad for me. And this someone just brought it up today. I was reading something, so someone brought it up. I just want to bring it out there.
You know, I mean, that's definitely an understandable bad for sure. You mentioned, moving on to ugly, you mentioned my ugly in the start of yours with the 40-point lead or 40-point game. That was game 3.
Yeah,
Or was it game
3?
Was it game 3 or game 5? Yeah.
No, it was game 3. Game 4 was
3.
yesterday. Game 4 was when they blew.
Game 4 was yesterday, that's right. But yeah, that was a terrible. I mean, again, obviously, and I am on social media, as I know you are too. And so after that game, in a bunch of comments on posts, people were like, yeah, when the refs don't help OKC, the T-Wolves win, they're going to win and say all these things. And then OKC came back the next game. And yes, it was a close game, but OKC took care of business. So for me,
it didn't feel closer. It didn't feel close. The result, two different stories. I was watching the game and I'm like,
yeah, that's a good point. It definitely, that's fair for sure. But game 3 was awful. And that is a game you don't want to have. And the reason you don't want to have that game is because I feel like the farther you get in the postseason, the more consistent you have to be in your game and your play. And so for me, the finals, it's either going to be the Knicks or the Pacers. And these are 2 teams that when they smell blood, they really take advantage of it and they go for it. And you've seen that in leads that they have both been able to overcome. So for me, this would be a really, it's just not a good time to lose games by that many points. And so that's ugly. Now, we're going to talk OKC and Timberwolves in a little bit, and my take on that is going to kind of contradict this take because I don't think it's like their season is done, blah, blah, but it's a bad time to lose a game like that. But again, come back game 4, win it, and game 5 is at home. And we've seen, I mean, OKC's, I don't think we've talked a lot about OKC and how great they are, but that crowd is a force. That crowd is active. That crowd is very much a part, just like of any team's playoff run. When there's a crowd, that makes a big difference. And so OKC's crowd is going to be up there and is going to be alive. So we'll talk OKC T-Wolves game 5 in a little bit. But yeah, that's my ugly just because that it's a really bad time to lose a game like that. What are you thinking for your ugly, bro?
I actually have no ugly this week. I'm
Hey,
not.
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Let's
I
hear
don't
it.
see nothing stood out to me that like, oh, that was bad. Oh, that was bad. No. Everything was kind of, is every other day you get to watch games. So, um, nothing. I can't tell you that I had an ugly this week, and I did think
No
about
major
it, but
injuries either. Nothing crazy happened in that.
exactly. So just your regular 20-point leads blowing up, 20-point leads, or winning by 20 to whatever. Just your regular stuff.
Just a regular NBA week. No,
Just a regular every week.
about how it's shaping up this season for sure. But no, hey, no ugly is not a bad thing at all. So moving on, we've got a game that's taking place as we are not as we're recording, but it's taking place this evening. It is game 4 of Pacers versus Knicks. Obviously, Pacers had 2 games in a row where they looked like maybe they weren't going to sweep, but they had control of the series. Knicks came back game 3 and kind of reminded everyone, including me, what they're able to do in certain situations because the Knicks, and I'll be honest, I have kind of not dogged on the Knicks, but I have not given them enough credit this season, I would say, especially this postseason. So we're looking at game 4 as we record. The Knicks are going to be in Indiana, but I'm giving it to the Knicks. I think they even the series. I said this in last episode that I think it's going to be a 7-game series, and I'm sticking by that. I really do think that this is going to be a 7-game series. I'm sticking with the Pacers winning it, but I think that the Knicks pull it off winning a major away game because they're specifically towards the end of game 3, you saw a momentum that I don't think we've seen in this round from them yet. And so I do think they will be on a run. I think they will have an energy that they will need, and I think they'll compete. And I think they will be. Now it's not going to be a blowout. Which the last game I think they won by 6 points, 106 to 100, I believe.
Yeah.
Around that, so it was close. I think this will be the same exact thing. I think we're looking at a 4 to 8 point win for the Knicks to put them up, or to, not put them up, to tie the series 2-2. I don't know. I just think the Knicks have what it takes, and they have that momentum, and they showed that with how they closed that last game. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I also could see it going the opposite way, and I could see the Pacers having a really good game and having a really good bounce back game. But it's a really bad time in the season to lose like they just did. And I would not be surprised. Are they going to crumble and fall apart like 100% for the whole series? No, I still think it's a 7-game series, but I think they're going to have some bounce back, and I think it could take them a game or 2. So I think they're going to be down, not down, but tied, and maybe even down 3-2, honestly. I don't know that for sure. I think they can have that bounce back game coming back for game 5, but I'm giving game 4 to the Knicks, and they might even pull off game 5 as well. David, what do you think? Do you think the Knicks are on a tear, or do you think the Pacers have what it takes to win this home game?
So part of me fearful that this series might end up like the OKC series. And how how Minnesota won game 3, and OKC won game 4. Part of me is kind of thinking that way too, that yes, Knicks won game 3, but Indiana win game 4, and then it's a series that will end with 5. Right, but a strong part of me is believing that the Knicks will even the series because again they're a better road team than a home team, and we saw it clearly. We saw how they played at home, and we're seeing how they're playing away. So I'm going to stick with the strong part of me that's telling me the Knicks, and obviously because I'm now a Knicks fan for just this postseason. I believe the Knicks will go exactly. We love that. We love that. Go New York. Go New York. Go. Yeah. So I believe the New York Knicks will even the series out, and then from there to become the Knicks have to step up their game. They have to absolutely step up their because again we have seen how bad they are at home, which is crazy. Apparently they're good away from home. So I'm going to go with you and say this is a 7-game series, and hopefully they don't prove me wrong and then it ends up like the OKC series. Yeah.
It's very possible. I think I think it's going to be a punch for punch series. I really do, but I think the Pacers are going to get knocked down just a tiny bit, especially after that last loss. But time will tell. Moving on, speaking of OKC T-Wolves, tomorrow is game 5, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I said this last episode. It's going to be a 5-game series. I think
Did you?
I did. Unless I said
yeah. I remember. You said they're taking game 3. You did say that. Yeah, I remember.
I think maybe this is the one series where I predicted it right, and it's not that impressive because OKC has been on a tear. And the reason I say it is this: we've seen them lose a game, which they've already had a bounce back game. If we want to talk, I know I've said this term a couple of times this show, but if we want to talk about bounce back games, they've already had one. They already won. They won game 4, and they very easily could have dropped that game, and the series could be more even now. They're playing this game at home. And like I said in the first segment, they are a force to be reckoned with at home this season because of the tear they're on. They have a loyal fan base, and they're on a run. They're back. They're going back to the finals. I'm just gonna say it. I really truly think that that's just where they're going. And yes,
OKC. This is OKC we're talking about,
yeah, 100%.
They are winning.
Yes, the Wolves took one game, but I think there wasn't any way. We've seen OKC drop games these playoffs. It's not like they have a perfect playoff record. They've had some games, and for me, they've never really been stressed. They've never been put in a situation where it's crunch time. Now, I guess you could say they were in that situation against the Nuggets, but they weren't. Look at how relaxed they came out in game 7 and just destroyed the Nuggets. I mean, yes, the first half was close, and I was like, this is going to be a game. Second half, nope, that was it. So for me, I could see this game being the same way as game 7 was. Maybe it's very close first half. OKC takes it away second half, wins game 5, and they're in the finals. And I think they've got a nice little break because I think that Pacers and Knicks series is going to 7. So they're going to have a little bit of time before those finals, whether that's a good or bad thing. And I think at this point, it'll probably be a good thing for them to have that time. But yeah, give me OKC winning tomorrow and finishing it in 5, little gentleman sweep. What are we thinking? Are we giving it to the T-Wolves? You said 6. I think you were giving the T-Wolves 6.
I did.
That was before the series had started or after game 1? I don't remember.
No, I agree with you. I think it's ending in 5. I don't see Timberwolves going to OKC and trying to put a they couldn't even do it in their home. Like, see how much they struggled. And obviously anything can happen. Things could be so different. Anything can happen. But I don't see OKC as if they can close out this series quick, especially if they know that this series, especially if they know the game 7, not the Pacers series is going to 7 games after today's game. They will 100% close out the series tomorrow, so that because they like having that time to rest. They will have that time to rest. So they will end the series in 5, and it wasn't just meant to be for Minnesota. And again, I had OKC winning it all, so and I still have them winning it all. So yeah, OKC in 5.
No, I definitely think OKC pulls it off. And again, I wish we were in an alternative universe where we were looking at a different finals matchup, like whether that be Warriors versus OKC. I wish it was a different one. It would probably be the same result no matter what team. I'm going to be honest. Lakers, Warriors, Timberwolves, whoever it is, they're more than likely getting beat by OKC in 5 to 7 games. But I just think, I don't know. I feel like the Timberwolves have, and again, they've shown, I mean, shout out to the Timberwolves. We got to give a shout out to them because they definitely were not a team that I would have picked going this far all the way up to the start of the playoffs. And so they definitely made a push, and they did that 2 seasons in a row, even after making those big changes.
Trades. Yeah.
Because those were huge. I mean, that completely reshaped that team after having such a deep push, and fans, I think, were pretty sure like this could be a team that could do it again. And then they did with a whole different team. So that to me is impressive. And that to me is something that a lot of teams cannot pull off. I don't think a lot of teams are able to do that. So shout out to the Timberwolves, but I think this is the end of the line. OKC, obviously pulled it off against the Nuggets. And again, that was an exciting, close series. But they just, to me, always seem to control, and that's how they are. I think they're a team that just runs the West. They ran the West this season. Now that could change. We've seen that change every single season for the last like 7 years, but it definitely could be them. They could be a team that sits on top and kind of makes their name. And this could be the first Thunder championship, and that would be a super cool thing. I mean, this is 10 plus years after they were in the finals against the Heat. So that would be a really big moment for them to pull that off with that young team and that team that they've built with draft picks and trades and just all the different ways that they built this team. So shout out to both teams, honestly.
Yeah.
But I definitely think we both are in agreement on it being a 5-game series. Maybe it goes to 6, but to me, this is not a series that has the legs to go to 7. I just don't see that happening. But again, I've been wrong about a lot of the series. So maybe this will be another example of that. But moving on, we're going to talk a little bit of trade. We talked about Giannis last episode because obviously he is potentially on the move. Touching briefly back on that, I am honestly more and more thinking that he will just stay in Milwaukee. And they'll make certain moves and try to make a team and see what they can do around that. But again, time will tell. But another player that has had trade rumors around him for honestly years before and after he's even been on this team or all these teams, he's had trade rumors pretty much around him for the last 10 years. That would be Kevin Durant. There is rumor that Phoenix is moving on from him, and at this point, rightfully so. They have not had a successful push to the finals since before they acquired him. Their finals push, if people remember, and I believe it was 2021, was pre-Kevin Durant era. So that is something to be noted. They never had a deep playoff push. They never had a healthy season. They never had a top 3 finish in the West, I believe, to my knowledge. They were always a lower seed, and then they finished by not even making the play-in. So that is definitely a pretty big like low point for them, and I think that kind of shows that they're done with the formula they've been trying to use for the last few seasons, which includes Kevin Durant. And there's rumors, I mean, again, there's been rumors surrounding him forever, but there's rumors that came out that were actually had some truth to them, that there were some failed trades this last pre-trade deadline, and one of them being to the Warriors potentially. So how much level of truth there is to that, I'm not sure, but it sounds like they were trying to move him, and so there's no way that Kevin Durant wears a Suns jersey next season. So for me, I've compiled a list of 4 teams that I think are possible. The top 2 are really the 2 that I think are the ones that are possible. Those are the 2 that I'm really like, and then the bottom 2 are more like they're out there, but you never know. I definitely think that it could be a possible thing. So for me, Houston Rockets is one that I think they have the pieces to do it. Do they have to do it?
No.
Could it be a mistake? David doesn't think.
Don't do that. You know what I feel, and I'm not trying to say this to disrespect either any of them, but it's just not a fit. It's just not a fit. The Westbrook situation with the Lakers. That's literally what will happen if it goes.
That's a good connection. I can see that being true. I don't know. I can see it possibly making sense for them and them doing it. Do I see it working and then winning a championship with that setup? I don't think so, but I could see them making a move. They definitely have the pieces to do that, because he also isn't as expensive as a player like Giannis, I would say. So for me, I think that a lot of teams could honestly maybe make a push, but that's one that I think could. Miami, because they have the pieces. They have
Miami. That's a good one.
Miami, for me, it's like, yeah, I think that's a team that they have the pieces, and it's the time to make a move post Jimmy Butler era. So that's one, and maybe they should be above Houston, because honestly, when I made this list, I was like, Miami is probably the one that has. Again, Miami and Houston have probably the most pieces of all the teams I'm listing. I think they have the most pieces that make sense to move, but I think Miami might have more pieces that the Suns would want, as opposed to alternatively, but maybe not. I don't know. It just depends because I don't think the Rockets would be willing to give up the big names that they do have. So I think that the Heat would be willing to give up more than the Rockets possibly would be.
Yeah.
Time will tell with that. My third one is Spurs. I know I mentioned them last time. I think that there's a small chance that
Oh my God.
Kevin Durant. I know I keep listing them. I'm not going to give up until something.
Did you say that for Giannis? I feel like you
I
said that
did
for
say that
Giannis.
for Giannis
Oh, of
because
course.
again, they do have some pieces that they could move to get Giannis. But again, Kevin Durant is cheaper than Giannis, so I think that that's more realistic than Giannis. I think that if they get one of them, but the pairing of Wemby and Giannis, and if they could keep Fox, which again, do they move? Would Fox get moved in a deal to get? I'm not sure, but if they could have Fox, Wemby, and KD, that would be a really fun group to watch. Is it realistic? Not really. Again, my 3 and my 4, I don't really think it's going to happen, but I think that there's a small chance. And then my 4, and this one doesn't feel right. And honestly, I don't know if I should say it, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to say Warriors. I think there is a small. Do I think when your reaction to the Rockets would be my reaction if this happened. I don't think the Warriors should do it, but because it sounds like, from what I can tell, his camp is the side that didn't want to do the trade when it was given. If there is something because now that there's Jimmy, but now that there's a new team and not a new
Mhm.
team, but now that there's a different vibe, because I don't think Kevin Durant wanted to go back to the Warriors with how they were playing and the record. So I could just see that being, but I don't think that's happening. But I can just see the Warriors reaching back out with having a different offer and it being a different time. But honestly,
Those
I am
exes. When you break up with an ex, or whatever, how you guys mutually decide to go your separate ways because one has grown above the other, or whatever, um, whatever you want to say. When that happens, you don't go back to that ex. No,
that is
there's just some relationships that when they do end, let's it end. And Warriors and KD, that's that type of relationship. What we should just let it end. You know what I mean? Like when we keep bringing them in trade talks, and Warriors are kind of disappointed when I hear them trying to get him in. Like no, like it was an amazing chapter. It's ended. We don't need to revisit it. You know what I mean? It's not bad. It's not. There's not. But just let it end. Let it remain ended. That's not even English. Let it remain done.
And
So
I'm with you. That what I will say is when I made this list and put them on it, it wasn't like I would like to see it or think it will happen, but I just think there's a small fraction of a possibility. But I'm really going with the Rockets, Heat, and Spurs as like the ones that I think would actually do anything. What do you think, bro? Are there any teams that I didn't list that you think? So I've seen Knicks, but I think it's too late for the Knicks. We're a couple years too late for that. It would have had to be
yeah,
before we went to the Suns or before
yeah.
Nets. We're too late for the Knicks because of where they're at. They're not going to break the team up to get Kevin Durant.
If he's not staying with the Suns, which I think that's a strong possibility, if he's not staying with the Suns, then maybe they could do a swap deal with Milwaukee.
For Giannis?
Giannis for
Oh my
Milwaukee.
God. Do you think wow? That's a hot take. We got to clip this. Jay has to clip this exact moment of this show.
Uh
I listen. So you're saying who else? Giannis and who?
no, it can't be Giannis and who. What? Yeah, it's KD and who for Giannis, not Giannis and who for KD. It's KD and who for Giannis.
Excuse me. That's what I meant.
I don't know the Suns roster that much. There's this guy. There was this rookie. Is he rookie or sophomore player? What's his name? Something Lee. I think I forget what his name is, but it's with that type of player, or like a second round draft pick and KD for Giannis. So something along those lines. Like I think, but realistically, I think Miami will be a good fit. If it's not Miami, I don't really see any other team, and him staying in the Suns. And then obviously, I just gave you like the trade idea. Other than that, I don't. Maybe New Orleans. I'm thinking of New Orleans swap trade with Zion
Ooh,
and something
yeah,
else for KD. Like you know what I
that
mean?
would
Like
make sense.
so maybe. I mean it would probably be like I think it's be a swap with some picks included or whatever for like another huge player. So
I like this. The swap trade makes sense for me. Like I said, if
but
it's
New Orleans is on a different timeline.
yeah,
They're on a kind of an up and up rebuild phase, so
very
different
true.
timeline.
I also think they could get him with less than I mean, because Giannis is Giannis. I don't know Giannis versus if we're I don't know when we're talking about star power or players that have been. Giannis has won a championship. Giannis is an MVP. Giannis has stayed generally healthy. He has had some injuries, so he's going to have a higher ask. The Suns are going to have to probably give up more, but I do I do think that is possible, and I think Giannis is a player, or excuse me, KD is a player that deserves that type of potential look at still because he is still a very high caliber NBA star. He just has been much more injured, and obviously him bouncing around the league isn't the best look for his career in a lot of people's eyes, but he's an NBA legend and he still puts up 30 plus like it's nothing pretty easily when he stays healthy. So he will go somewhere if he goes somewhere. And I like your take on maybe he doesn't go somewhere. Maybe he
Yeah.
stays Suns. I just think they're rebuilding around Booker because they've already done that and it's worked when they got Chris Paul and they built that team up that went to the finals. And then they just kind of dismantled that team and Kevin Durant and try to rebuild another one with Beal and KD. It just it's been very frustrating. I'm not a Suns fan, I'm not a Kevin Durant fan, I'm not an any of that fan, but it's been frustrating as an NBA fan because the Suns were on a roll and Kevin Durant wasn't really on a roll with Brooklyn, but it was just frustrating to see him up and leave another team. And it's like I'm not really judging that. I'm not really saying anything about that because like whatever. But like, come on, I don't know. It's frustrating to see him bounce around, and I don't know. But who knows? It'll be exciting to see where he ends up next, and obviously we'll cover wherever he ends up next, and it could be who knows when that'll happen or if it'll happen. So
Yeah.
time will definitely tell with that. But the Lakers are a team that obviously were bounced extremely early, and there's reasons that are glaringly obvious when Rudy Gobert is grabbing 20 plus rebounds. I'm never going to get over that. I think that might be the worst moment of like NBA that I have seen live on TV or otherwise because it was just like it was nonstop. He just kept grabbing rebound after rebound. And anyways, so the question is, what do the Lakers do? What do they prioritize? There's been a lot of talk about them trying to go for stars and go for Joker and go for Giannis and just all these things that are ridiculous. They're not. It does. None of these things make sense after just getting Luka and having to prioritize a long-term deal with Luka. It makes no sense to go after a third star like that. That doesn't make any sense. So the question is, what do the Lakers need to do? Well, I just said the first thing, in my opinion, is prioritize a long-term deal with Luka. Luka is that guy. You got that guy. It doesn't have to be Austin Reeves. It doesn't have to be one of the guys that we're not quite sure if can they carry a team, can they lead. You know what I mean? You have a leader. It's Luka. So for me, prioritize Luka. LeBron isn't someone that you have to worry about leaving. If he's not retiring, he's going to stay in LA. I just don't see him leaving the Lakers at this point, especially with them. If they didn't get Luka, I'd be saying a different thing. Honestly, if they never got Luka and they got bounced in round one, I would be saying maybe LeBron's going to leave. But since they got Luka, and Luka was literally like the third highest scorer for them, playing like a quarter of the season for them. He was their third highest scorer when that was released. If I'm third or fourth, but like that's crazy for playing not as much. I mean, yeah, he is that guy. So prioritize him and then try to get some size. And I've said this for the last like 4 years or since we got rid of like Dwight and JaVale. And oh man, I'm blanking the names of the people we had the players we had the next
Green, KCP, Markieff Morris,
yep.
Alex Caruso.
Yeah.
What's this dude's name that is in Kyle Kuzma?
Yep. We had a balanced. I mean, we had some really bad shooting nights. We had some really bad 3-point shooting nights, and that's plagued us for like 10 plus years. I'm not gonna lie. this season, these last 2 seasons, but specifically this one was exponentially better. But
Yeah.
we had a good balance of size, of shooting, of offense, of defense. And so we need to get back to that. And we're close, but we're just missing a little bit of that. So for me, I hope we go for players like Brook Lopez or Jeremy Grant or Steven Adams or Clint Capella, or just players that you wouldn't have to give up a bunch of pieces for. These are bigger players. And again, there are more players, more positions that we need to look at. These are we need bigs, we need size. Now a lot of these players I mentioned are vets, are in their 30s. They're probably past giving you a full game, so maybe they're not. But I just think we need to look at giving up less this offseason. I don't think we shouldn't give up more than we get. I don't think that we're in a place where we need to do that. I think we've had times where we've just not blown the team up. We've still kept a lot of pieces, but we've given up crucial pieces. I'm talking about Austin Reeves. I've heard a lot of, and I don't think this has any backing to it. I don't think Austin Reeves is even in any trade talks for the Lakers. But of course, the internet, there's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. And it was either him or his agent, but I thought it was direct.
His agent, yeah.
His agent shut it down and basically shut it down, which again, that can also mean nothing. But for me, prioritize Austin Reeves, prioritize Luka, prioritize LeBron, and then are we giving up Rui? Maybe, possibly. I love Rui. I've always been a big advocate for him and thought that he was one of our better two-way players in a lot of moments, but he disappears in the postseason a lot of the time. And there's a lot of times when he just doesn't do what we need him to do. So for me, that's not something that makes it a super big priority for us to hold on to him. I don't think it would be the worst thing if we kept Rui or several other players that might potentially be traded or on the trade block. But I don't know. I definitely don't think we need to give up a lot. We need to keep and get more than we give up this offseason. So you can get a Brook Lopez, you can get a Steven Adams, you can get a Clint Capella, you can get a Jeremy Grant, you can get a Marcus Smart, you can get several players without having to give up that much. And then there's also maybe some players you can get within certain trades that we could look at as well. So there's different things, but again, the giving up Austin Reeves, there's been rumors that have been circulating the internet, and I just don't think that is the way to go at this exact moment. So time will tell. That we'll see what the Lakers do. They've made really questionable roster switches before, but I don't think that's going to happen this time. And also, just so our viewers know, we are going to wrap up the show in a second. David has to take care of some stuff, but I am going to run through. We have just 2 more little segments I'm going to quickly run through before we hop off. The first one is talking about teams that were eliminated in the semis and things that I think that they need to do. And the first one is the Cavs, or things that I think they need to do or will do in the offseason. Cavs, I don't think will do much. The Cavs have been building this team piece by piece for several seasons, and they've been rebuilding since LeBron to get to this moment. Literally since the season LeBron left, they've been making moves to build up to this moment. So they're not going to make major roster changes. I don't see. Again, could they? Yeah, they could make some major roster changes. But I just don't see that happening. They had some injuries. They had some movement negatively throughout the season. But I just think because of where they ended up throughout the regular season, I think that they'll try to give it another push, because I do think that they could go further next season as a team, because this was their breakout year, and we've seen teams take it to that next level the following year. So Cavs, I don't think do anything, but they definitely could. Warriors, I think will keep the core of Curry, Green, and Butler, which I think Butler is already a free agent, or there's something about his contract, but I do not see him leaving Green Bay. Oh my goodness. I don't see him leaving the Bay. Man, I'm saying all the wrong names right now. But no, I don't see him leaving the Bay. I definitely think he's going to stay. And I think that they're going to add a big piece like a KD or like a Giannis. I think a KD is a much less chance than a Giannis. Now, KD, like we were talking about earlier, is cheaper than Giannis. So that's where that's like, okay, but I just think that Giannis is that player that you could add to the Bay, and he's going to be that guy, maybe even post Curry. Like maybe he's the guy that's there when Curry retires, because how much time does Curry have left? Not that much time. So you want to build a team that is very much win now and like that last chance for Curry to win a ring vibe. And I think that that very much is Giannis, because then Giannis could take it to the next level and they could continue that. KD could maybe help them make a push to a chip, because that core of Green, Curry, Butler, and KD, if healthy, could be really dangerous. So I don't see that second one happening. I really do think they're going to make a push for Giannis, but maybe on the flip side, they just strengthen their roster in other areas and do like the Lakers, like what I said with them, and they prioritize keeping Butler. Now, Butler's not going to get a Luka deal, but prioritize keeping Butler and then build up certain positions in certain areas that you needed with some size and just maybe some vet leadership in some positions as well. So Warriors, I think, will make some big moves, but I don't think we'll see them move on from their core. I don't think that'll include that. I think that we'll see a very much last chance push. And then Nuggets, I've heard people making claims about Joker leaving, and I just don't see that happening. David makes most of the good points on this show, I will be honest, and he made this point about Giannis and how he's loyal, and that's same point my last co-host would make very, very frequently when we would talk about shout out to Manoli, when we would talk about we didn't talk about Giannis being moved that often, but when we would talk about it or it would come up briefly, it was really like, you know what? Giannis is loyal. Joker is loyal. Does Joker show a lot of emotion? Is Joker like the guy that's out in the city doing photo shoots? Or no, but I think he really does love Denver, and I don't see him leaving. If anything, maybe Murray's leaving. Maybe the Joker Murray era is done. I can see them moving on from pieces of that 2023 championship. And I don't think you start with Murray. Will they start with Murray? I don't know. I don't think they're a team that has management that would make a decision that rash. I think they would move on from other pieces first. But I think you start moving on from that 2023 championship and building a new team around Joker. And I think that's exactly what they'll do. Now, again, I don't know. I'm not going to say they're going to get Giannis. They're going to get, KD. These are not moves that are going to happen for the Nuggets, but they also don't need those moves to happen. I see the Nuggets making smaller moves towards a new team around Joker. But I don't think you have to like completely rebuild and do this huge dramatic rebuild right away. So I think it'll be a slower burn in Denver, but I do think you will see that. And then Celtics, I think they'll stay pretty much the same team. My only thought is with Tatum being out for however long he's going to be out, perhaps they do try to strengthen up positions and strengthen the team. I've heard rumors of Porzingis leaving. I don't really think that makes sense for Porzingis. I don't really think that makes sense for the Celtics. I think that they're going to remain pretty much the same team. I mean, they finished second in the East. They had a very disappointing playoff run, but we've seen plenty of teams win a championship and then have a disappointing playoff run. Look at every single team for the last 5 years. All of the 2020s, we've had teams win a championship and then have disappointing runs essentially the next season. So for me, I think that's exactly what happened for them, and I don't think they're going to move on from who they have. I think that they have a really good team, and Tatum will come back, and I think they'll make a push. So I think they will prioritize strengthening their team in Tatum's absence, and just even with him coming back, just having a stronger team to hopefully go further. But I don't think you're going to see them make big moves. I think the Warriors are the teams out of all of these teams I listed that are going to make the biggest marquee moves this offseason. But time will tell. I could be completely wrong. And then moving on, it's our top of the hour 5, and we're a little earlier than top of the hour today, but that's okay. It's the top 5 number 1 overall draft picks of all time. The NBA draft is coming up very soon. We talked about it last show with Cooper Flagg, and I'm going to read my list off. I'm sure if David had a list that it was better or it might be similar to mine. I'm not sure. I'm very curious to know his list. We'll have to check back in on that because I'm sure it's a very either very similar or maybe very different. That's kind of how our lists go. They're either very similar and like one or two people are off, or they're completely different. And that's what I love about the lists. So we'll just hear mine today, and it won't be as exciting, but it'll still be good. So the top 5 number 1 overall draft picks of all time. Starting at number 5, the 1984 number 1 overall draft pick, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. 2 chips for Houston. One of the best players, the Dream Shake. I mean, this dude, that move, I cannot figure out how to do it on 2K. How am I cannot figure out. I've looked up videos, I can't figure it out. And there's no way I could do it in real life. But it is like one of my favorite moves. It's one of the cleanest moves ever. And Hakeem invented that. Hakeem was that dude. So Hakeem drafted to Houston 1984, a very notable draft class, and he went on to win chips and to be one of the more notable players of the 80s and specifically the 90s. The 90s were obviously when he made those pushes, and it was really cool to see. I just love watching highlights of him playing because he was really clean with it. So got to give a shout out to Hakeem for number 5. Number 4, the 1969 number 1 overall draft pick, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, drafted to Milwaukee, most notably known for his time at the Lakers, but he did win a chip with Milwaukee, and he had a really nice early career with Milwaukee and won them their first championship that I'm pretty sure I forgot about last show or sometime when I was talking about their championships and said that their one in 2021 was the first one. But he won the championship that some people forget, including me, back in the 70s for them. And again, most notably known for his time as a Laker, but he still had a legendary career with Milwaukee for what he could do in such a short time. Number 3, speaking of the Lakers, but not drafted to the Lakers, is 1992 number 1 overall draft pick, Shaquille O'Neal, drafted to the Magic. Now, of course, he didn't start his career with the Lakers, but that is where he's most notably known. Or maybe you know him from the Heat, or maybe you know him from the Suns, or maybe you know him from the Cavs, or maybe you know him from the Celtics, if you can believe that. But no, he started his career with the Magic. And when he played with the Magic, he was in the best shape of his entire career. And if he stayed in that shape and maintained that shape, people wonder if he could have been the GOAT. I saw someone I think it was probably Facebook, I'm going to be honest, that was making that argument in a chat room or in a chat, whatever you want to call it. And it's like this. Yeah. I mean, would I sit here and bet my entire livelihood on Shaq being the GOAT if he stayed in better shape? No, but I would give him a very strong case for winning 3 to 4 more championships and being elevated to a whole other level if he would have been in a different shape or stayed with the Lakers or stay with the Heat. So there's probably not stay with the Heat because that was really a one-time win it thing. But the fact that D Wade was still there, it's like maybe he could have. What if they built a team that lasted and they made a little push to the mid 2000s? So that's the question. But he was drafted number 1 overall in 1992, and he had a really nice rookie season and put up a show when he played for the Magic. And as a Lakers fan, love that he came to the Lakers. We probably wouldn't have won like we did without him, but I would have liked to see him and Penny either A, have more success in their time together, or B, play longer together and just have more success. But definitely one of the best to ever do it. And then top 2, this is big, top 2. Number 2, 2003, number 1 overall pick, LeBron James. LeBron James is major for who drafted him, which is Cleveland, because he has spent half of his career. I have not done the math, like actually, but I'm going to guess, breaking it up, he has spent half, if not a little more than half of his career in it would just be half. It'd be about half of his career in Cleveland, I would say. Broken up in 2 different successful runs with MVP pushes and playoff pushes and championships. Only one, but a couple of almost championships. I don't know if you want to call them almost championships, but deep playoff pushes. And so LeBron did so much for Cleveland. And then you see him go to the Heat, win a couple for the Heat, come to the Lakers and win one for the Lakers and make, we can't really say deep playoff pushes. We had one deep playoff push, make some playoff pushes. We'll just leave it at that for them as well, and have a couple of MVP pushes as well. So this dude has just been monumental and consistent his whole career. But LeBron James is not my number one all-time best number one overall draft pick. He's not. Tim Duncan. Number one, Tim Duncan. I'm going to make the case for Tim Duncan because Tim Duncan won all of his championships with the team that drafted him and was super consistent. And now a lot of people like to clown on Tim Duncan, whether it's legit or for a meme, I don't know. But for me, I just feel like he is the best because of what he accomplished for the team that drafted him. But LeBron is right there. Honestly, when I was first making this list, I had LeBron at first, and then I sat down and I thought, and I gave it a little more thought, and then I was like, you know what? I actually do think that there's a chance I'm going to give it to Tim Duncan. So that's my list. Again, maybe we'll touch back in with David next episode and see what his list is, or just show up for our next list. You can always let us know if there's a top 5 or top 10 you want us to do. We will always try to accomplish what we can with that. But that takes us to the end of another show. This is not the only place you can find me or my co-host. You can find my co-host David on YouTube, and I don't know if, let me check actually. I can check this. Spotify, yeah. So YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast for Mind of the Football Fans. And they just posted an episode today, a new episode out on all of their platforms. They're talking about awards, and it's review time. So go check them out. How's it going? I think you might be muted.
Yes, I had to handle something quickly, but yeah, we're back.
Sweet. Hello. I just was wrapping up the show, but I was plugging your podcast. Is there anything you want to add to anything that I
Yes, I'm sorry. I saw your list, and I don't know if that's the list you gave.
Please, yes, let's go.
Top of the hour 5.
Yes.
Your list for top of the hour 5. Oh my days, what is that?
So do you disagree with the whole list or just the fact that?
So please take me over. So you had let's start with number 5. Number 5, you had
Hakeem, 2 championships with Houston.
Okay, cool.
Successful, good.
Cool, very successful. Yeah.
Number 4. He won a championship for Milwaukee. Successful.
Cool. With the Lakers also.
Lakers, yes, Lakers a bunch for sure. But
exactly.
Shaq, 1992.
Shaq, okay. Shaq above Kareem. Okay, maybe.
Oh, see, you know what? That's a good then. But and then LeBron number 2.
Oh, okay.
And Tim Duncan number 1.
Okay, no.
And
LeBron is the greatest number 1 pick ever.
What? Why?
LeBron is because of the expectation he came into in the league. Let's even keep the resume aside. The resume alone speaks for itself. But the expectation he came in with into the league with. And then he superseded it. It's not like he achieved it or he maybe exceeded it just a bit. He superseded it.
That's fair.
I can't think of any other number 1. I think your list is amazing. And obviously, notable mentions will probably be,
Dwight Howard could be on there. Maybe you could.
Dwight Howard, Anthony Edwards, depending on how he goes.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Let me see.
Magic Johnson, of course. Magic Johnson.
How is not Magic Johnson not of your list?
See, that's the thing. I don't know. That's a good question. Honorable mention. He maybe should have been on instead of Hakeem. I could knock him off for Hakeem. Because that's a player I can see moving off, you know what I mean? But I could see that switching off because that's a pretty big mistake.
I mean, there are other mentions. Obviously, Yao Ming.
Yeah,
Yao Ming is on there.
If he could have stayed healthy,
Allen Iverson.
AI, of course.
How
step
did you
over.
miss? How did you? David
So
Robinson,
would
David
you
Robinson, Patrick Ewing,
would
James
you put
Worthy.
players above how many? Like, who would you take off of your top
You
five?
see,
Who would you have instead?
obviously, first is LeBron. I think first is LeBron. Then you can then debate obviously Tim Duncan and Yao Ming and Allen Iverson and what's his name? This David Robinson. I think David Robinson also is up there. Um, Shaq is there. Shaq is definitely there. Um, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's definitely fair. It's a hard list to make because, like I mean, you listed off so many. There's so many legendary number ones.
Magic Johnson will be top five for sure. I think Magic Johnson
That
has to be top
that
five.
might have been a fumble on my part. Magic Johnson might be the player that I would, looking back, remove. And I honestly, I wish I can say I just forgot him, but I did not. I looked at him. I fully was doing my research and was like, oh yeah, no, he's not on it. So
Yeah,
but I think that's the one that I would change on my list possibly and move Hakeem to a maybe an honorable mention. But hey, either way, all of them are legends. There's so many legendary number one picks, and there's some busts. But we're not going to waste our time doing a bust list because those aren't as much fun to talk about because there's some pretty bad NBA draft busts out there.
that's
Greg,
true.
among others, but we won't waste our time talking about that. But yeah, that takes us to the end of another show. David, I was already going into your pod,
Alright.
but give us the scoop, bro. Tell us what's up.
No, that's pretty much. I think you covered. I think you pretty much hit the head. An episode was dropped today, so that's the last episode of this season. We won't be back till August, pretty much. So if you haven't been caught up, go catch up on previous episodes. We love that. There will be small contents because obviously sports has no end, really, no off season.
Facts.
But we'll have some content on our social media. So if you follow us on social media, Mindful Football Fans Podcast. But yeah, I think you hit it on the nail.
Absolutely, bro. Yeah, definitely check them out. College Football Junkie. We will return. That's all I'm gonna say. I kept giving a 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but we will return. It might end up being the fall by football season, but I think it's going to be at least at the latest. I'm thinking mid to late July is when we'll start. I'm hoping to start sooner, and we're going to be in the same time zone, so I'm not going to have to get up at like 3 a.m. to record or 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. because we would record mornings on Saturdays. So it'll be a lot better. And who knows? I don't know what time the show will be. It'll probably be an evening showtime Friday or something. We'll figure that out. But definitely let you guys know. But that takes us to the end of another show. And then honestly, by the time we come back, it might be NBA Finals. It might be the
It will
last.
be NBA Finals.
I
It
think
should
it.
be. Well, but I think the Knicks series will be done. The Knicks and Pacers series will be done, and then OKC series is ending tomorrow. So yeah, we'll
It'll
be
be
previewing. We'll
finals.
be previewing NBA Finals. Yeah.
It'll be time for the finals. So I'm excited to talk some finals basketball with you, bro. But that takes us to the end of another show. But we will be back talking more basketball with you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Sounds good.